Right, cool. So I'm here to talk about a project that I did in late 2015 and throughout 2016. It was called Lower Income Barriers to Low Carbon Living, and I did that with my colleague, Professor Bruce Judd. Tony, can you? Cool. So it was actually funded by an organization called the Cooperative Research Center for Low Carbon Living. And they fund a whole range of stuff, including technology advancements. But I belong to the what they call the social stream. So they look at the social outcomes and behavioral changes in terms of energy efficiency. As you can see, we have a number of partners who provided in-kind support to us, helped us recruit people, gave us places to do all those interviews and focus groups, and just gave us general advice in terms of what the struggles are out there. You can also see what the project aim was. It was really just to look at what barriers different kinds of lower income households face in terms of, particularly in the low carbon context, but as we talk more and more with different households, as you will see later on, it was more about just getting by and not struggling through. And the aim, of course, is to provide evidence to change the policies out there. To make it a lot easier for people to switch to low carbon or just have a minimum level of standard of living. So this is what we did. We did a whole range of stuff. We did a literature review and policy review like most academics do. And we also did focus groups with low-income households. And when we talk about low-income households, we talk about people in the first or second quintile of income, so quite low. Generally, that's about $600 a week, and that's 80% of our participants had less than $600 of income every week. We did 23 groups and involving 164 different families. We also talked to a whole range of stakeholders, and they included state agencies, they included charities like the Salvation Army, and they also included housing providers, so community housing providers in terms of what they do to help people or what they can't do because of regulations limitations. And after all of that, we did a whole range of policy workshops, and we did 4 because we did it in 4 different places, so 4 different states and territory, to talk with also the service providers, but also some of the policy makers in terms of what the struggles are and what the families told us on how they can change things to make things a lot better. We chose 4 different types of families because previous to our research there was basically a number crunch to talk about who would struggle the most, and these are the 4 types of families that would struggle the most. And like I said, we did it in 4 different jurisdictions. Okay. So this is what we did. I found it a bit hypocritical to fly around the country to talk about low carbon, but that's what we did. We did it for a range of reasons. So we did it because they represent very different climate zones. So we want to look at the different struggles that people have. Obviously, Hobart to Darwin are very different struggles, heat and cool. So that's why we did it. We did it in capital cities as well as we did it in a regional town within reasonable driving distance, just so that we know what the city struggles are and we also know what the country struggles are. Let me touch on this, you all know. So if you look at 2007 as a base, this is how much energy prices have increased over time. So here in New South Wales and also in Queensland, over 7 years it's more than doubled. And pretty much everywhere else it's more than 75% increase. And if you look at down here, CPI, not too much, but average benefit increase is much lower. And of course, since then we know that prices have gone up again, and we know the gap is growing larger and larger. So it's no surprise money was a big issue in terms of getting by. This single parent said, electricity is really expensive. She paid $1,200 every quarter just in electricity alone. And not everyone can afford that. I can't afford that. I earn a reasonable income and I can't afford that, let alone a single parent with 2 extra mouths to feed. Quite a lot of people also talk about the cost of efficient appliances. If you go to Harvey Norman or somewhere to buy a fridge, that will save you energy. It's actually costing you a lot more to buy that fridge rather than just going down to Aldi and get a cheap fridge that you can afford. And of course, you can't always afford that extra few $100s up front. Oh, this is a doozy. Eligibility for assistance. So most lower income households, they actually qualify for what's called the energy rebate, or at least on paper they do. But we found out from this gentleman who's actually receiving his pension from Veterans Affairs that he said, well, I don't have a Centrelink card and all the energy rebate is paid out of Centrelink, so I can't qualify until my pension with DVA runs out and I switch over to Centrelink. So that's quite a few years for him to wait before he can actually get the assistance that he needed. Really touch on this, split incentive. That's a big problem. You know, this guy said the landlord wouldn't do insulation, and that's not uncommon. Insulation is quite an expensive thing to do, but we've heard a number of stories where they've asked the landlord to change the lighting, you know, to efficient light bulbs. That's what, a few dollars a pop? They won't even do that. So that's a really big problem out there. Personal pride and embarrassment. We have three different quotes here. One is from a young lady who just lost her job. You know, it's actually quite embarrassing to go and ask for help all the time. You know, every couple of months you need to go and ask for assistance. That's actually very embarrassing. That's stopping people from asking for help in the first place. This older lady also said, well, I come from a generation we don't ask for help, so we just get by as much as we can. And this young gentleman said also, you know, I'm a man, I can, you know, just tough it out. I don't need to go and ask for help. Inaccessible information. So a lot of people asked us, well, we asked a lot of people, you know, how do you find out things, you know, programs that can help you? They said, well, we don't know. Most of the time we just don't know anything because, yes, we know there's information out there, but it's generally online. We can't afford a computer at home. We can't afford internet at home, so we don't know where to look it up. We also don't know what to look up. You know, all the different programs have very different names. They're quite technical names, so I don't actually have the knowledge to do that. And then personal capacity. Quite a lot of our participants, they are relying on welfare. So they have a lot of different family priorities. You know, for example, they have kids to take care of, they have the elderly to take care of. You know, they may be looking for a job when they're in between jobs. So, you know, just getting to keep up with the bill is a struggle enough, let alone finding out all these other things that they need to do or they can do to make their lives a little bit easier. How does that affect them? We've heard from the video, we've heard from a lot of different people, and I'm sure you may have experienced some of this as well. You get by with lack of comfort. You let go of your own comfort. This gentleman, he lives up in Catherine. 40 degrees, that's not uncommon, you know, and he doesn't have an air conditioner. He just gets by as much as he can with a fan. This older lady, she got sick 3 times because she couldn't afford to heat her house properly. It just means that she needed to spend a lot more on her medication, on her hospital bills, rather than paying that electricity bill. Or this older couple, they went to bed early so that they don't have to use any energy. 7 o'clock wasn't an uncommon thing for people to go to bed. I've had one lady who told me that in winter she would come home from volunteering and she would go to bed straight away, and that would be 4:30 in the afternoon. That's no life for anyone. You know, it's not just, you know, whether you're poor or you're rich. That's no life for anyone. Affects your physical health. If you're skipping meals all the time just to keep up with your bills, of course it's going to, you know, affect your health. Or, you know, even if you're skipping medication, cancer, that's quite a big thing. It's not just one thing that you can skip every now and then. It has very long-lasting impacts. So these are the things that people are doing in order to keep up with their bills. And of course, like this lady said, it's actually psychologically damaging to be counting the cents every single day just to get by. It's very isolating because you can't afford to do anything else. The bills take up so much of your income. You just can't go and meet a friend for a cup of coffee or do anything else. You know, again, this lady said, I just stay in bed all day. I don't want to go out and spend money when I don't have to. Also impacts on your relationship, particularly your family. This single mother said she can't afford to go 2 hours drive down the road to see her daughter who was about to give birth, because it's not necessarily on the week that she had budgeted for to go down, which is only once every couple of months. So it can, you know, it means that you would miss out on quite a lot of family time. Easter is coming up again, so this young mother may be, you know, having the same struggle again. She can't afford to celebrate with her daughter. She could only afford one Easter egg. We also had a single mother who was so ashamed. She felt so ashamed in our focus group that she actually cried because she said, well, my daughter is studying for HSC, but I can't afford to keep the house warm. So I think that I may have, you know, jeopardized the future by not being able to study in comfort. That's the magnitude that people are experiencing. So what can be done? We asked all of our participants what they want done, and then we talked about this in length in the different policy workshops in terms of what can actually be done. Simple things, you know, good information, and make it accessible to everyone. Don't just put it online and expect people to find it, because like I said, not everyone have the capacity or the resources to go and find it. Make it easy for people to look them up. Simplify it as well, you know, pictures with numbers and symbols on it. That's, everyone can understand that. You don't need to have studied, you know, for however long and look up all the technical terms. Assistance as fit for purpose. Make sure that the assistance that you give them actually help people. So this charity lady said, yes, we have e-vouchers that can help people pay their electricity bill, but they have to be overdue before we can give them out, which means that they would have incurred a penalty before they can actually help. We've had a number of people who said, yes, I managed to shop around, I got a 24% discount. But when we asked him this question, he said, yeah, if I'm a minute overdue, I forfeit the discount and incur a penalty before I can actually access that kind of assistance. So what's the point? Split incentive. So yes, we've talked a lot about this. Lily's talked about this. We also wanted to focus on this. So we talked quite a lot about in terms of the ways of overcoming split incentives. How do you actually change things? This single parent in Tasmania, she said, well, change the laws, make it easier for us to do things if we want to, you know, give us grants that we can, you know, put up simple things like a blind, you know, in the house that we're renting. Yep, go on. And supporting advocates and support services, because quite a lot of them go to charities, you know, like the Salvation Army, to ask for help, and that's where they get all the information as well. It would be really helpful if, you know, there's a person there that they can ask for additional information, or if there's anything that they don't understand, they can just go and ask on the spot rather than leaving it 2-3 hours, days later, and then forgetting about it altogether. Yeah, go. Political commitment. This got quite a lot of people angry. We didn't talk about it too much in the focus group, but we talked a lot about it in the policy workshop, because I brought up a stat. So in 2015, I found out from the World Bank that the Australian government, either directly or indirectly, is subsidising the coal industry. $11 billion every year, and renewable resources get $1.5 billion every year. If we just redirect some of those funding towards renewables, it would be a lot easier for people to access those kind of things. And you know, there can be a lot more programs that are available for people to make changes that they want to make. And of course, having impact investing. So what that means is make sure that the investments, such as negative gearing, actually do something rather than just help people pay their mortgage off. So this advocate, he said, make it a condition that you have to upgrade before you can access negative gearing. And that is something that we found beginning to creep in other countries. So the UK introduced minimum standard 2 years ago, and you can't actually let something out unless you have achieved minimum standards and got a certificate. So if we can bring that in at some point here, that would be fantastic. That's it. Right.